He's actually my first male guest.
No way. Holy shit. Oh, that's awesome, man.
Right? You are.
Holy Christ.
Okay, let's
I'm
do
glad
this.
I wore pink.
Okay, we match. I mean, welcome back to Beyond the Silence podcast, and I am your host, Lisa Toma. So today I officially have my first male guest. I'm so proud to say that. And he's honestly a very special guest. Joe and I had the opportunity, I'll introduce you to him in a sec. Joe and I had the opportunity to have a beautiful conversation prior to this podcast episode, and I was so inspired by his story. There were so many impactful things that Joe shared with me that I thought would be so powerful to share with all of you. So with that being said, I want to introduce you to Joe Capone, my first male guest. Thank you so much, Joe, for being here today. I'm truly, truly honored to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. I've been really looking forward to this a lot. Last night I couldn't sleep. I put meditation after meditation, prayer, and I had to release it.
I love it.
But you know what? It was a good fear.
Yeah.
Healthy fear.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that too. I feel that that type of fear also allows you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I feel that when we're able to do that, we can share so much wisdom through our struggles and our experiences with others. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for the impact that we can make on other people's lives, right? Whew, where do we start? Okay.
Well, I like how you said the comfort zone. The comfort zone really stuck out for me because,
Yeah.
you know, for me as an alcoholic and a recovering addict, you know, the comfort zone is the most it's comfort
Right.
zone, right? But nothing grows there, right? So when we're getting out of the comfort zone, when I'm getting out of the comfort zone, it's a scary thing to do, right?
So scary.
But you know, going around the fear, I exhaust myself, right? So I got to go through the fear. So I got to get out of the comfort zone.
Right. But before that, let's go way back
Let's go.
on how you got to that place.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, let's talk about getting out of the comfort zone. So, okay, Joe, let's paint a picture for everyone of, there's so much judgment when it comes to addiction. And I feel that behind addiction, we've talked about this as well, behind addiction, there is something so much deeper, right? And something that you're trying to numb or escape. And so let's go back to let's start maybe with your upbringing in your childhood, and then we'll go from there. How does that feel?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So yeah, let's paint a picture of maybe how was your environment growing up, your household, in terms of maybe emotional support and stuff like that.
Emotional support. Okay. So as a kid, you know, my dad, he really didn't want to keep me like in the neighborhood streets so much. We started off our journey at Christie Pitts. For me, I was always enticed by the bad guys.
Yeah.
Always seen the bad guys outside smoking, having their beers and looking cool. And my dad had put me in hockey at a very, very young age. I must have been like 3.5, 4 years old. And I became a very, very outstanding hockey player. But in the eyes of my dad, I just never did good enough. I just never did good enough. I had to do better. You know, I could remember breaking records in the GTHL and still just never being like, I was just never doing the best. I was never doing the best.
I want to ask you a question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Perfection came where everything I did in life, I had to be perfect. And if I wasn't perfect, I was a failure.
You know, I really resonate with that because I feel that a lot of that generation as well has that kind of same mentality. And I always wondered, is it that you were never good enough, or is it that they didn't know how to express that you were good enough?
I like that.
Right? I feel that they had such a hard time saying or expressing, good job, you did amazing. They felt it, right? But they couldn't express it, which then gave you the impression that you weren't good enough.
Less than,
right?
Good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
I actually like what you had to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay at the
Yeah.
still the childhood journey. So the childhood journey from Christy Pitts, I remember at a very young age through my therapist showing me some early recollections where addiction was so uh, out there at a very, very young age, like hiding in the closet and rolling up my own cigarettes or going to the cafe with my old man and the old men would throw their cigarette butts under the thing. And I'm like 6, 7 years old and I'm picking
Right.
up cigarette butts and I'm smoking them. Like addiction was high and mighty at a very, very young age. Um, from there, we ended up moving to Jane and Shepherd, where I grew up. And uh, it, like the family dynamic, my mother is not because she's my mom, she's just one of the most beautiful
Mm.
human beings. Like when they speak about angels that are on earth, that's my
Mm.
mom.
Oh,
Like she can't even step on an ant,
I love that.
right? And yeah, so I'll keep going with my journey. And I used to get walked to school from a gentleman, from a younger
Yeah,
guy.
let's start with that. So
Yeah,
how old were you? It was a neighbor, right?
it was
That
a
was,
neighbor. Yeah, it
yeah.
was a neighbor. And
How old were you at the time?
I don't must have been 6, 7, something along the lines of that. And he started doing things to me, sexual things to me, and
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was completely terrified. I didn't know what to do. Talking about it right now, I could see myself crying
Yeah.
up on the roof of the garage. I could see myself crying. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And
That's
it
so powerful.
continued. It continued, and uh, I'll never forget the one day that the fear went away. And we're in his basement, and all the dads are watching a soccer game, and he brings me down the hall, and he gives me this glass of white, which now I understand is wine, but I didn't know it back then. He said, "Just suck it, just drink it all." So I did. It tasted amazing. I loved it. I could still remember the taste of it, and I wasn't scared anymore.
Mhm.
I wasn't afraid.
And that was your first introduction to
Alcohol
and numbing.
and numbing. That was like, yeah, that's what society would call a relapse if you did it after you admit you're an alcoholic.
And you're 6,
Eight,
8 at this point.
eight,
Okay.
yeah. And
So it
again,
was happening for a couple of years before you were introduced to alcohol.
if I have to be honest,
So I know
it's
such
in
a
and around that time,
blurry
in and
time
around
frame.
that time. But yeah, I mean, like when I would have to go there and stuff like that, I would go downstairs to my dad's cold cellar, the Candina, and I would take a glass, I would drink it, and I just knew that it made me feel better.
So now you were introduced to this wine, this
Substance,
liquid that
the magic,
gave you a
magic juice.
cape, right?
Yeah,
Gave you a cape. And so now your brain associated that. So every time you knew that you were going to be exposed to this individual, you knew where to find.
yeah,
It was very easily accessible,
of course. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And you went to the cantina to get this wine to put on your cape again.
I like how you said
Yeah.
Candina. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
And
assuming it was in the
it
cantina.
was in the
Yeah.
Candina. Yeah, it was. And yeah, so and the funny part is as I was like, I love to write, right? So when I would write about those situations, I remember wanting to go see him. It's weird,
Yes.
eh?
Well, it's not. It's very, very common because now you have this connection, acceptance. You were shown affection, love, and it is very confusing for a small child to process that, right? So you were terrified, right?
Mm,
You knew that in your body, you felt in your body that this is not what you wanted and it wasn't right.
mhm.
And now it became a trauma bond, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Became a trauma bond. You developed this emotional connection. You felt love and accepted. And it's very confusing. It's so confusing. So yeah, you would say it's weird, but it happens with a lot of children, every child and their abuser.
Yeah, like it was weird for many years. I understood that after doing the trauma work on
For sure.
myself. But with this guy too, the way he would be, he would like force me to do things, stupid things, like go on the street and grab people's garbage and throw them in the street, or like the stupidest, but I would listen and I would listen. And it was very weird. And like moving on a couple years, he just completely like stopped.
And how old were you then?
Uh, Probably about like 11, 10 or 11.
Yeah. And this is where the part that we were just talking about, how did you feel?
I felt abandoned. I
Right.
felt like, what did I do? Like
Abandoned, rejected,
rejected. Yeah, I
right?
missed them. I
Right.
actually missed them.
Yes. And that was the connection, the emotional connection that you had made with your abuser at such a young age. And it's a very, very common thing. Right. And yeah, so okay, so now it just stopped. You didn't know
Yeah,
why. You
I
didn't
didn't know
understand
why.
why.
Hmm.
Right. And so how did you deal with that?
How did I deal with that? In and around that time, I could remember having my first panic attack downstairs. I didn't know what it was at that time.
Right.
But then again, right? Like I just didn't know what was going on. I felt abandoned. I felt everything like moving forward as an adult, remembering how I was felt. Because back then I didn't know what I was feeling. I just knew
Right.
I was scared and what's going on, right?
You
And
didn't know how to process it.
no, I didn't, and I couldn't tell my mom because the threats were if I said anything, he'd kill her.
And that's such an important thing because that's another way abusers gain control, right? And so that was said to you that
Mhm.
he would kill your family. So now you are feeling this heavy responsibility
At a
at
very young
such a
age.
young age to keep your family safe.
I started, at my house as well. My mom, like I explained to you, and my dad. He's, you need help, he's there, whatever. But inside the home, it was constant complaining. My mom, not enough sugo, too much sugo. Why'd you make meat on this day? And I know it's
Yeah,
not just him. It's a lot of us resonate with that. Like years later, I understood that my dad was doing the best he could
absolutely.
because who knows what was done with his generation, right?
Right.
It's generational pass downs,
Right.
right?
He did better than the generation beforehand.
But me and my dad, he became my enemy because I was like, I stood up for my mom so many times, screaming and yelling. And, at this time I was still with him going to hockey and becoming a really, really prominent hockey player in the society that I lived in. And, I was drafted at a very young age to the Toronto Red Wings, and I played with them.
Oh,
And
wow.
at this time, high school was coming up, and then I was exposed to some weed and some hash, and then it just the mix of the alcohol with the weed and hash. I was like, I'll be honest with you, it was my best friend. Alcohol and drugs was my best friend for
Course.
a lot of years. And I was just like, I'm in heaven. I don't have to feel anything anymore
Right.
because I became more and more afraid. And becoming more and more afraid, I became more and more of a tough guy. I didn't care about rules. You told me rules, I told you where to go. I just did not care. The more you came at me, the more I would come at you. I just did
That was
not
your
care.
survival
Yeah,
response.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
and I talked about this in my previous episode about the version that you have to become in order to get through that part of your
The
life,
survival.
right?
Yeah.
And that's you were clearly in fight,
Yeah,
right?
I became an everyday animal. No one could come near me. Uh, and at the same time, so, like I, it's so funny because the true Joe
I was just gonna
doesn't
say
want to
that.
hurt anyone.
No, but
So
that's
many people
yeah,
I would hurt at night. I would pray to God, please, please, crying in tears, but I couldn't show people on the streets that I was crying in bed that I
right.
hurt somebody.
Because that was your true authentic self
Yeah.
beyond the layers and layers that have built up through your experiences and your traumas. That was the survival Joe. And
Hmm.
then at night when you had to sit with yourself and reflect, it was like your true self showed a bit and you cried in silence, right?
Yeah, and that's
And
what a
then
lot.
next day got to put on your armor,
Mm-hmm.
right? And show up
And
as
survive another day, fight
yeah,
another day.
100%.
I could remember being 16 years old, crying my head off. I just want you to be my friend.
Hmm.
Crying my head off, trying to bring him to Keelan Wilson to this billiards where my mom was screaming at him. All he wants is to be your friend, and you can't be his friend. And I don't have time for friends, and this and this and that. And I still was playing hockey. And then I started hanging out with some of the bad guys in the neighborhood. And one of the friends, God rest his soul, I'll never forget that man. He was a good man. And he said to my dad, he said, if you don't be careful, you're not listening to what he's saying. You need to stop. You need to change. My dad's whole thing was me complain. I don't know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? And my reality was so warped looking at it like, is this not, are they not seeing this? And I would go belting and belting. And the old man told him, he's going to end up with those guys. He's going to end up
Yeah.
with those bad
You're
guys on
pushing
the
him
street.
further and further away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew. That was powerful. All right. Okay. So now you show up this survival Joe, surviving day after day. What happens next?
What happens next? High school was going. I quit hockey. I gave him an ultimatum. I said, it's either you stop or I don't care anymore. I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
Alcohol and drugs was becoming a nightly thing by myself in the bedroom before I would go home and things like that. Suck back a small Mickey and have somebody up the road just buy me a Mickey and stuff like that, and smoking weed. And he was just kept on looking. And I said, you know what? I think I even punched a hole in the wall. I just lost it. I said, I'm done. I quit. And then
that's when your hockey career ended.
That's when my hockey career ended. I had the head coach of the Toronto Marlies come, please don't quit. You're on your way to the NHL, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm done. And I hated hockey. My dad's narcissistic mindset ruined my reality for a very long time.
Wow.
Because I felt guilty as well. Just because I was standing up for my mom, fighting my dad, he's still my dad.
Right. You felt torn between both your parents. I felt that too growing up. You feel so much guilt, and then you kind of like feel sorry for them, but then you know that your mom needs the protection, and you're like torn now. Am I choosing sides? But I have to choose sides. It's such a terrible position to be in as a child.
And I know for my siblings, there's no way it was easy watching me.
Absolutely.
I was not a good person to be around. If I could take back time and turn it around, I definitely would.
Of course.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Present day progression. I'm a 12-stepper. I'm part of Alcoholics Anonymous. The first step is admitting you're powerless over alcohol and drugs. That's the thing. You have to admit you're powerless over alcohol and drugs. And one thing that people need to start to realize is our addiction has nothing to do with alcohol and drugs. That's our solution. That's our friend.
Yeah.
That's what makes us feel good when the world is scary.
Wow.
And a lot of families need to start realizing that they're part of that, right? With the alcoholic and the drug addict, I think I explained to you, we make the front page of the newspaper. We always make the front page of the newspaper. The nagger, the narcissist, the control freak, they're on page 38, 40. Nobody points the finger at them.
Right.
And I'm going to use this as an example if it's okay.
Of course.
Dr. Gabor Mate, he's world renowned.
Right.
He uses a phrase called, don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain.
Right.
A lot of people might know this, might not know this, but he's an addict as well.
That's right.
His addiction was classical CDs.
That's right. Yep.
And he would explain to people, the same rush I would get from the classical CD, the addict gets from the alcoholic, and the drug addict gets from that.
Absolutely.
Right. And it always makes me think, because it's like you see society, right? And if I could use religious people and the Roman Catholic stuff, and I'm not disrespecting it. Jesus is my higher power. But so many people judge the alcoholic and the drug addict to the degree that we are the devil.
Right.
But I'm going to twist this off a little bit for the people who are not understanding this.
I love it.
So you go to most Roman Catholic houses, right?
Yeah.
And you see a picture of Jesus with the 12 disciples.
Right.
Who were the 12 disciples? They were the alcoholics. They were the robbers. They were the dirt of the dirt in that society at that time. Right. They were us. They were the alcoholic and drug addict in society's eyes today. Yet people and again, I'm talking about the negative aspect, because there's a lot of positive aspects to the people who believe in God, of the church and stuff like that, including myself. But being around certain people and listening to them, like being at people's tables and they just attack alcoholics right in front of me too.
It's the judgment.
And I look at them, I'm like, but you have the 12 disciples right there. That's us. We were the guys that Jesus came and grabbed from the street, because society deemed us garbage
But the awareness is not there in a lot of people, right, Joe?
because they don't want to take initiative. People like to point the finger out, but they always have to remember there's always three pointing back.
Always, always.
Right?
I hear you. I hear you. And wow, that's very powerful. Can we talk a little bit about maybe what led you finally to your recovery? And then we could step into what you've done
Okay.
in your recovery. So your recovery journey, I'm assuming your addiction into recovery was a very long journey, right? A lot of more layers of trauma added on top.
Mm-hmm.
Certain lifestyles, choices, and things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get to the point where you say, I can't do this anymore? And I know that probably has happened a few times, right?
Many times.
Yeah.
Because when I would really not want it, you know, you put a lie detector on an alcoholic or drug addict, we truly don't want it. We don't
I
want that
believe that.
solution
I know.
anymore.
I know.
When I first remember knowing that it was a secret. It was another survival I had to keep because there was no way I'm exposing to my mom, to my sister, to my cousin that I am what you're saying I am. Because the moment I tell you, then it's exposed.
You had yourself to become aware that you even had this addiction because you didn't believe that you did. Is that correct? At first.
At first it was fun. It was an escape from fear. It was a best friend of mine for many years before the devil came and took.
Right. And you didn't think to yourself, I have this problem. I have right? And becoming aware that you did, how did that happen? Like, how did you finally say, was it just hearing things that people were saying about you and then slowly coming to the realization that you were?
No, I was at the point where, because it was an everyday thing, it didn't stop. Like it wasn't stopping for years. And you know, I remember my mom and my sister, my baby sister, was like, "Are you seeing?" Like they were like crying, screaming, "Are you seeing it?" And as I looked up on the balcony, and I'm like, "I don't have a problem. Leave me alone." Something sparked. Something sparked, and I could hear my mind telling me, "Yes, you do have
Yes,
a
you
problem."
do. Yes.
But I couldn't
course.
expose it. I
Yeah.
couldn't expose it.
Yeah.
If I let go of that, then I got to stay in life. How am I going to survive in life without that?
Right. Wow.
All right. Men, in my own opinion, are a lot more forced. They're more forced. If you go to most addiction treatment centers, 80-90% of them are men. I'm so grateful that a lot of women are starting to speak up more, because it's something that really needed. Because at the end of the day, men could say what they want. In size, yes, we are stronger than women, but there's no way on this earth that we have more strength than a woman. We just don't. We just don't. They have to endure things that they don't talk about. Men will cry, will scream, will yell. A lot of women won't. They just won't. And I'm so grateful that a lot more women are starting to expose their pains, because a woman has to, it's like almost embedded that a woman has to be the strong in the family. And what about her?
I feel very seen right now.
Watching my mom, it was watching my grandmother, it was watching the abuse my grandmother had to go
Right.
through.
Yes.
What do you mean? My grandfather
The
hitting her, beating
physical
her,
domestic abuse.
trying to kill her sometimes when she was sleeping.
Right.
Sorry, is this your dad's?
My mom's dad.
Oh, not your dad's.
My dad's mom was like my dad. My dad's dad was a piece of bread.
Came from?
Every human being, I don't care if you're a human being and you're born in this earth, you're born with addiction. I'm going to simplify it very clearly, if that's okay. Cartoons. Everybody watched cartoons when they were kids.
Right.
When there's something that you're about to do wrong, who shows up? There's a devil and there's an angel.
Right.
What's the angel say? No, don't do that. That's wrong. What does the devil say? Do it. Come on, you could do it. That's the addiction, the temptation.
Wow.
Once you take the temptation the step further, now you're in addiction. Now you're in addiction. You're far from God. you're in addiction. You're dancing with the devil.
Oof.
He don't come and get us, but he waits for us.
Yeah. Gives you the choice, right?
Denzel Washington said this the best, and I'll never forget this line. And he says, you ever notice that when you're doing the wrong things and you're up to no good, that the devil never comes around you? Never comes around. Nobody bothers you. But the moment we start going towards God, all of a sudden this devil's like, where's he going? No, go get him. And all of a sudden,
So much temptation.
that's why that spiritual journey I was talking about, a lot of people think the spiritual journey is so beautiful. No, the awakening of the spiritual journey is beautiful.
Yes.
The spiritual journey is a storm.
Right.
I've always said this, and I'll say this till the day I die. Catholic, religious people are afraid to go to hell. Spiritual people have walked through hell.
Oof.
Yeah, dropping all kinds of stuff.
All
Right?
bombs.
Right? And it's and that's the natural truth of it. I mean, like, life is not easy. We have to choose. I have to choose which heart I'm willing to live. Being divorced is hard. Being married is hard.
Right.
I have to choose my heart.
Right.
I go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym all the time, but I could stay home too. They're both hard. Choose
Yeah.
one. Staying in active
Choose
addiction
your
is hard.
Yeah.
Staying in recovery is not easy. It's hard as well. Stuff happens. Bad things happen. A lot of haters out there. A lot of people waiting for you to fall.
Right.
Again, I mean, like, my journey, I fell sometimes. I did.
Of course.
You know what? Like, as my spiritual journey continues, one thing that my sponsor always taught me is it's none of your business what people think, say, or feel about you. That is the hardest thing for me to let go of.
Yeah.
To this day still.
Well, because that's part of the rejection, right? That's strong. And the rejection is strong.
And I have a heart.
Of course.
And I don't want to hurt people.
Right.
But if I don't hurt you, I'm hurting me. If I'm not living my belief systems the way I believe my higher power needs me to live, and
You're
I'm bending
abandoning
over
yourself.
to people please
Right.
someone, I'm out of myself, and you're my higher power.
Right.
I've made peace with it. The fact that my dad, no matter what, will never ever change, and he has a good heart. He's just spiritually sick.
Wow.
There's a lot of spiritually sick people. It's called generational patterns, right? There's a reason that, people of our generations are breaking them. A lot of people think that it's easy to break generational patterns. It's hard, man.
So
I used to be told, why don't you spank your kids? And I'm like, because I don't spank my kids.
Right.
Why? You bring them in their room and you talk to them. And I'm like, because I'm a solution-based person.
Yeah.
Am I perfect? Absolutely not. I've been a monster. I've been an animal. I've been very ugly towards people. I'm not going to sit here and paint the picture like I'm a great. I am a great person.
You are
that I'm not in pain sometimes. That on my journey I haven't snapped and made people afraid. Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
I have. Have I've made amends to all of them yet? I wish I could have, but I'm not there yet. I'm making my amend journey, right?
I think the amends needs to be with who you were, like those versions of you. First.
My amends is more on what I've caused you when we were. How do I say this? My amends is on my wrongs.
Right.
Toward you or toward your children or towards the family.
Right.
My amends to me. And the thing with most families have control people, narcissist people, angry people, nagging people. Most families take an amends like we're taking responsibility for everything.
Right.
And we're not. Just to let you know, we're not. We're making an amends on our behaviors in the situation. We're not taking total responsibility of the issue.
Right.
But a lot of people look at it as we're apologizing for everything.
For everything.
So they get away with their scapegoating. Again, that's the hardest thing for me to realize because like my sponsor said, Joe, that's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
It's hard, man. It's hard when your heart's involved.
Let's talk about you taking your traumas, your addiction, your recovery, your relapses, all of the struggles, and share with everyone what that has become and what you're doing with that.
Back in 2018, I went back to college.
Okay.
I got my addiction certificate.
Oh, yay.
It was still a bumpy road up and down. I mean, like I said before, there was a lot of haters, a lot of people, not a lot of people, sorry. There was certain people that were just doing their best to make me fall.
Mm-hmm.
And
But you started.
I started. I
Right.
kept going and going, and I had a vision back when I went to treatment in 2016, when I found the light that I'm put here to help people.
Yeah.
Not myself personally, but the energy that God utilizes through me
Yes.
to assist him in gathering his children the way he
Yeah.
gathered me.
Right.
So today, right now, I'm glad to say that I have a recovery center, and my program is very different from other programs, which there's some programs out there that are outstanding.
Why is that? Did you create a program based on maybe the things that you wish that you had through your recovery journey?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the whole stigma around relapse and what society understands as relapse, and what alcoholic and drug addicts understand as relapse.
Okay.
Relapse has nothing to do with the drug and the alcohol. That is the end of the emotional relapse, that you go to the solution because you can't survive in the environment that you're in.
Okay.
So the relapse, my center it's relapse prevention techniques,
Wow.
and it's based on stage 2 recovery, which is emotional relapse.
Okay.
You set boundaries. Listen, a lot of people that find the rooms of recovery, a lot of them get separated and divorced.
Yes.
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
A lot of them going to treatment are in the midst, including myself, in the midst of separation and divorce, right? Uh, a lot of people are scared. I was scared. I didn't want to lose my ex-wife, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But the thing is if two people cannot come to an understanding and take their both of the work they need to do, I don't like the word mistake. I like the word lesson.
Right.
Take the lessons you've learned and grow with them, right? And if you can't, you can't. On your recovery journey, it is what it is.
You have to create that safe environment for you to be able to continue your recovery journey. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does look like doing things that is very uncomfortable, but it's just changing that environment too, especially, right, if it's an environment where it's just not working anymore.
It's you're 100% that on. I mean, like, recovery is for life.
Yeah.
And if people can understand that, unfortunately, we've exercised our boundaries on trying to help them understand we're protecting our recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time you're speaking with people that have control issues because we were in that environment. So we're
Right.
surviving in a certain environment. So this is who you're speaking with.
Right.
So I'm speaking with people that have control issues, that won't take accountability. So how do you set that boundary? Well, you do it in a loving way.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. I haven't always done it in a loving way, to be honest with you, but in a loving way. And then if it's not reciprocated, just remove yourself from the environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to wait for people to die in order to say goodbye.
Right.
You could love people from a distance. When people leave the earth, you're loving them from a distance anyway.
Right. Yeah. So beautiful. So you took your experiences through your own recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and you created a program
Mm-hmm.
that is relapse prevention.
That's right.
How beautiful. What is your center called, Joe?
Hope be the cure.
Hope be the cure.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the center? And so how does it work?
It's an inpatient 30-day program,
Okay.
or more if they would need. My recommendation always is to families is when they're ready, if they're ready, you should get them in. I don't really, I won't take a client who's not ready.
Right.
I won't take a client who's being forced. Not that I won't talk to them. I'll definitely talk to them. Right? But if people are being forced, the ones that are being forced and have to come to treatment, I'd say like 80% of them know they have a problem. They just want everybody else to change.
Right. They're not ready yet. They're not there yet.
Environments are very crucial in the recovery process. They're
Yes.
the matter, literally life and death. Because for most drug addicts, they don't use for 2-3 months. They go back to using the same amount. They're gonna overdose. They're gonna die.
Right.
They're gonna die. Alcoholics as well. Like if you go back to, like, for me at the end of my journey, like of the real ugly part of the journey, I was killing 2 Texas Mickeys a day.
Wow.
A day. And
How did you not die, man?
that's what my therapist said, and My spiritual healer as well. They just, you have an angel over you, and that's it. But that was near the end of it. That was probably the last 2 or 3 months when the marriage was just finished. I had left a couple times, and it was just, it wasn't compatible.
I have one final question.
All right.
What has been the most unexpected part of your healing journey as a man?
I never would have thought growing up how much I crave and do the work to have a closer connection to God.
Wow. Is that something that you've always felt pulled towards
Yeah.
and just kind of ignored, like the devil and the angel on
Yeah.
the shoulder?
Yeah.
Wow, that's the most unexpected part?
That's the most unexpected part, because I was so angry at God.
Right. I went through a little bit of that too.
So my devotion to what He needs from me, yeah, that was the most unexpected part. I don't leave my bed unless I ask Him to take my hands and feet and please guide them in the direction He needs them to go.
So beautiful. I love that. Okay, Joe, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Hope Be the Cure Treatment, on Facebook, Hope Be the Cure, and
Website?
is www.hopebethecure.com.
And you can find me on Instagram at This Is Healing Official, TikTok, This Is Healing Official, and on my website at www.thisishealing.ca. So just to end the session, Joe, first, thank you so much for being here, for being so vulnerable, sharing all of the layers, which I'm sure there's a lot more, but we would be here for days, right?
Little while.
But maybe let's share to the audience, addiction is huge. And I know that, everyone knows somebody that's struggling in addiction. So what would you say to maybe the family and friends of those, holding space for people struggling in addiction, or maybe the people who are struggling with addiction themselves?
I could say to the loved ones in the support community, they need someone to talk to. They're afraid. They're in a lot of pain. When you see them going to solutions, I'll call it relapse, understand that there's a lot of pain there. And set your healthy boundaries as well with them. If people that have addicts and alcoholic and drug addicts in their family, Al-Anon's great. It'll help you set some healthy boundaries. But at the end of the day, at the core of it all, they're just in a lot of pain.
Right. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story, your strength, and your inspiration.
Thank you very much.
It was an honor to have you here. Thanks, Joe.